Opening and closing her eyes, Chi realized that she had traveled through time and was still a small widow with a big belly being driven away by her husband's family. Incomplete memories indicate that the little guy in his belly has a complicated background. Sure enough, he gave birth to a lively and lovely pair of dragon and phoenix twins. As a master's student majoring in both traditional Chinese and Western medicine at a medical school, she possesses a meritorious system and is skilled in treating illnesses and saving lives. She excels in good deeds and accumulating virtue. When she achieves success and fame, even a young widow with 2 dragging oil bottles is a hot and sought-after beauty. Years later, 2 luxury carriages were stuck at the doorstep of her house, and 2 handsome and influential high-quality men came down, both claiming to be her husband who was buried in the grave many years ago, and she would take her doll to kowtow and worship every year. Did you fake the corpse? However, she couldn't resist deceiving 2 people out of one scam. What should we do? Run with the doll. Compared to the life of a wealthy lady in a mansion, she still enjoys riding horses and sailing freely, and loves to scatter clouds and mist the most. Keywords of the novel. After the family split, the little widow lord returned from the capital without a pop-up window. After the family split, the little widow lord returned from the capital. Download the complete text. After the family split, the little widow lord returned from the capital with the latest chapter to read. Chapter 1. Being a Widow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Being a widow. Spring is cold and chilly, and the February wind blows on my face like a needle pricking me. Chi unconsciously trembled and slowly regained consciousness, feeling multiple pains in her body. Memories of a strange woman appeared intermittently in her mind, and sharp and hoarse screams and cries could be heard in her ears. You broom, don't lie on the ground pretending to be dead, get out of here quickly. Oh, my son, why did you just leave like this? It's unreasonable. The woman leaned against the grand tutor's chair, half of her body lying on the coffin beside her, beating and pounding with grief. Mother, what's the point with her? Let the servants drag her down directly. The young man didn't finish his sentence, but was stopped by the woman beside him pulling at the hem of his clothes. The 2 were Gu Xiaozi, the youngest son of the Gu family, and his wife Lu Lu. Gu Xiaozi lowered his head in confusion and looked at his wife. Lu Lu gave him a glance and asked him to look aside. He looked up and saw several uncles on the opposite grand tutor's chair with gloomy faces. He quickly changed his mind and said, Chunny, go see the young lady. She's in good condition. Why can't she just lie on the ground and not get up? She's not pretending to be dead, is she? With a hint of meaning, Chuni gave a glance, and her heart trembled, but she dared not disobey. Yes, second young master. The Xiao grandma, the Xiao grandma. Chunny first gently shook Chi, but when she didn't move, she gritted her teeth and shook her vigorously. The Xiao grandma, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me, wake up quickly. Chi finally received the memories in her mind, but before she could digest them, she was tormented by the pain in her waist and had to open her eyes. Grandmother, you're quite awake. Chunny's eyes were hazy and her voice trembled slightly, unsure if it was a surprise or shock. Chunny. Chi searched her memory and found out that the person in front of her was her husband Gu Xiaowen's maid. Oh, Sister Law woke up. Don't lie on the ground when you wake up. My Gu family is a prestigious family, and if outsiders see me, I don't know how to discuss it from behind. Gu Xiaozi's tone was cold and his expression was contemptuous. Upon hearing her youngest son's words, Gu Laonyang immediately exclaimed excitedly, what evil has the Gu family done? They have married you, such a shameless and immoral person. Get out of here immediately. Chi endured the pain on her body and slowly stood up on the floor. Her 8-month-old belly was struggling to get up, but no one came to support her. After taking a breath, Chi frowned and spoke, Mother, your words are not something that my wife dares to agree with. Is it appropriate for you to slander his wife like this? Is it shameless? My wife admits that she has never done these shameful things. My husband is still lying there, his bones are not cold yet. Are you so eager to slander his wife? She was very weak, standing there swaying slightly, as if a strong wind could knock her down. The voice was slightly slow, but every word was paused, unusually firm. Pooh, what face do you have to mention filial piety? It's because you married you, a broom, that you killed him. You killed your father. In law as soon as you entered the door, and now you've killed filial piety again. You still want to stay with the Gu family and not leave. Is the next one trying to kill me? Gu Laonyang exclaimed excitedly, patting the coffin and crying, Xiaoen, open your eyes and see, this is a good wife you don't listen to at home and insist on marrying. You just left, and she dares to be unfilial and contradict your mother. Chi-Chi's lips twitched slightly, his veins twitched around his temples, and he felt restless. With a slight sigh, he began to look around and compare his surroundings with those in his memory. White walls and blue bricks, red-painted carved windows, and a spacious and bright lobby, with only an additional coffin and white cloth paper money in the center. On the left row sat 3 middle-aged men in their 40s and 50s. The older ones listened to Gu Laonyang's crying and looked at Chi-Chi with disapproval, filial and kind-hearted daughter. In law, how can you talk to your mother? Openly contradicting your mother. In law, how did you learn the 3 obediences and 4 virtues? Chi-Chi took the information from the memory of the 3 people, and slightly attached himself to make a salute. He said in an unassuming tone, Uncle, what I taught you is that Qi Nyang is caring for her family and children. Her virtue is too big, and she dare not slack off at all. She is afraid that this baby will be involved. Therefore, if there is something wrong in her words just now, please forgive me. But my husband only left this one bone and blood in this world. Qi Nyang is afraid that she will not be able to nurture him to grow up and become a talent, so she is terrified. Chi pretended to use a handkerchief to tuck in the corners of her eyes, showing some weakness and also slightly pointing. Sure enough, the uncles looked much better and gave Mrs. Gu a disapproving glance. I don't know if this child belongs to my older brother. After all, your marriage was only in July, but why does your belly look like you're already 8 months old? The voice of questioning instantly quieted down the hall, and the sound of needles falling could be heard. Chi looked at the sound and saw 2 sets of skin bags that made her hate her to the bone. Her boyfriend and best friend who pushed her into the cliff, how could you be here? She gritted her teeth tightly, clenched her fists, and the pain of her fingernails cutting through her palms prevented her from letting her anger go out of her mind, rushing up and smashing the scumbag couple. I secretly remind myself that it's just that people have similarities. She has traveled through time and space, not the modern era. Sister-in-law, what's wrong with you? Your face is so pale, is it? That we talked about it and you feel guilty. Lulu looked surprised, and his words clearly confirmed Chi-Chi's charges. Sure enough, everyone's eyes became suspicious, and Gu Laonyang seized the opportunity and angrily scolded, Okay, I always thought something was wrong when I looked at your stomach before. Now, thinking about it, you married Xiaoen so hastily, and the old man passed away. Your family sent 2 servants to offer condolences, without any courtesy. Since Xiaoen had an accident this time, there hasn't been anyone from your family until now. I think this is to sever ties with you. No wonder, it turns out that it's because you, a woman, didn't know how to behave and got pregnant before marriage. Husband, Qi Nyang's fate is hard. You just left, and this family has no place for us mother and son to live. Chi collapsed onto the coffin, crying bitterly. If you want to add sin, why bother? Chi has been falsely accused and can only prove his innocence with death. Chi is not afraid of death, but he has pitted our child. He doesn't even have a chance to walk in this world. The Gu family can say things like getting pregnant before marriage, obviously trying to force her original body to death. Although Chi wants to be tough, this is ancient times. She still has a big belly, and women are completely in a disadvantaged position. Without high-tech skills to prove herself, it is definitely not possible to force herself. So, she can only make progress by retreating and find a way out. Husband, the only bloodline you have left in this world, Qin Yang is powerless to protect him. Also, instead of letting him be unjustly criticized from birth, it's better to gather with you in the underworld with me. After speaking, Qi gritted her teeth and headed towards the coffin. Quickly hold on to her. Opening a new book, please support us all, little ones, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Seeking a Way Out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Seeking a way out. Chi-Chi's seemingly reckless collision is actually something she knows in her heart. She is a medical student who knows how strong the impact force is and from what angle it can really kill people. And several uncles did not disappoint her expectations. Upon hearing her generous words, they couldn't bear to let Gu Xiaowen's bloodline be cut off. It can be said that Gu Xiaowen's good relationship during his lifetime blessed their mother and son. Gu Xiaowen is a legendary figure in Sanhe village. Sanhe village is located in Chashan town, Qingshan County, Jiangzhou, during the Dapei dynasty. The village is surrounded by water on 3 sides and faces mountains on 1 side. The land is fertile, the grain production is abundant, and the people live in peace. Most of the people in the village are surnamed Gu. There was once a jinshi from his ancestors who achieved the rank of 5th grade official, 2 juren, and dozens of scholar children. So, it can be considered as farming, studying, and passing down the family. Gu Xiaowen's family has had an old master who was a juren, so his family is wealthier than most villagers in Sanhe village, after all, poor scholars and wealthy juren. Gu Xiaowen's father was also a child, but he was physically weak and failed to pass the imperial examination for a lifetime. He passed away shortly after Gu Xiaowen got married last year. He was originally in poor health, failed to pass the exams for many years, depressed, and plagued by persistent illnesses. His passing also depends on Chi, which is really indescribable. Speaking of Gu Xiaowen, he was enlightened at the age of 3, talented and unforgettable. At the age of 13, he passed the entrance examination as a child, and at 15, he became a scholar. He was still a junior 3 yuan student, and among this young generation, he was the most promising young man. The whole family was very optimistic about him, waiting for him to enter high school and create the glory of the Gu family again. I was supposed to take the township exam last year because I missed it. The reason for the accident this time was that he had been studying at home for several months and had accumulated many problems. He planned to go to the school to seek advice from the teacher, but did not expect to encounter water bandits on the way and lose his life. And the group of water bandits came from unknown sources, using extremely brutal methods and slaughtering a ship of people. Gu Xiaowen had multiple knife marks on his body and face, and had been soaked in water for too long. When he went to identify the body, it was completely unrecognizable, but he was still recognized by the clothes he wore and the wallet he carried with him. There were consecutive incidents at home, and Mrs. Gu didn't like Chi at all. Her youngest son and daughter-in-law instigated her, and she believed that Chi-Chi's fate was not good. After defeating Mr. Gu and Gu Xiaowen, she was determined to drive her out of the Gu family. Seeing that she really wanted to die, she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. Although she had some doubts, she was only skeptical. Pregnant women have different appearances from person to person, and the child has not yet been born, so it is too early to say anything. Besides, she still keeps the yuan handkerchief they used to round up the house. If she really wants to force her eldest son to cut off his incense, she is also unwilling. Chi was pulled by Chunni. Although she released her strength, she deliberately chose a corner to collide, but still broke her face. A blood mark was cut on her forehead, but it was not a big deal. At this moment, she sat weakly on the ground, looking quite miserable. Why do you want to pull me? Let me take the child and leave. Husband, Qi Nyang is incompetent. She is ashamed of her expectations of you and cannot give birth to Liner for you. Alright, you're fighting back and forth. What are you doing? What do you look like when someone sees you? Do you want to embarrass us? As Uncle Gu got angry and slapped the table, the hall quieted down again. Aunt Gu wanted to say something, but was stared at by Uncle Gu and swallowed again. Chunny, help your young lady sit down. Chi sat on the nearby round stool with Chunny's strength. She looked gratefully at Chunny and was about to express her gratitude when she saw Chunny like a frightened rabbit, her eyes dodging and retreating to the corner. Chi restrained her expression and lowered her head, staring at the ground in silence. Third daughter. Law, don't say such baseless and slanderous words about personal integrity in the future. If there really is someone immoral in the family, you can shout loudly and make the whole family know about it, which will bring shame to your face. The Gu family is not just one of them. As soon as Uncle Gu spoke up, he settled on the matter just now. Hey, I'll follow Big Brother's advice. Gu Laonyang nodded in a sarcastic tone and was taught. Uncle Gu was satisfied and looked at Chi sternly, filial and kind-hearted daughter. Law, so are you. If your elders say a few words to you, you will die or live like that. Chi quickly stood up and saluted. Qi Nyang knew she was wrong. Well, knowing one's mistakes can be corrected. There's nothing good in it. Uncle Gu stroked his long beard and said, You, now take good care of yourself and give birth to your child. It's the right thing to leave incense for filial piety. Yes, Qi Nyang will definitely do everything in her power to protect the child, Chi said, looking slightly hesitant in the direction of Gu Laonyang. This expression of fear and softness was naturally noticed by several uncles, who exchanged glances and felt quite helpless. They have already split up and are not suitable for too much involvement in the affairs of the three houses. Finally, Uncle Gu spoke up, Third wife, filial piety has left behind this bloodline. You should treat her well. Gu Laonyang's eyes flickered and she didn't know what she was thinking, but she didn't make a statement for a long time. Gu Xiaozi quietly moved over and whispered in a low voice, Mother, you have a destiny, you can't keep her. Gu Laonyang's heart trembled and she suddenly regained consciousness. A hint of determination flashed in her eyes and she said, Big brother, it's not that I don't want to take good care of their mother and son. However, last year when I went to Qinyan Temple to offer incense, I divined and calculated the divination, winning and losing the divination. The divination indicates that there is someone in the family who is unlucky in terms of destiny. As soon as she said this, everyone present knew that she was talking about Chi. As expected, things happened one after another in the family just a short time ago. My mother's filial piety, such a good child, why did she just leave like this? This is for my mother's life. As she spoke, Gu Laonyang cried again. Fortunately, Gu Xiaozi comforted her on the side. She looked at her youngest son and made up her mind, grieving and firmly saying, For the sake of the peace of the family, I cannot keep her. She must leave the Gu family. With Mrs. Gu's statement, the atmosphere in the hall became even more solemn. Nyang, you can't. You can't drive me out and let me be a pregnant woman. Chi cried sadly and helplessly, Nyang, we are relatives on a registered residence, and the daughter.in.law has to be filial to you for your husband, to raise your old age and see you off. The paint looks like it is unintentional, but in fact, it deliberately accentuates the word registered residence. Don't worry, I can't bear it. If you don't come and conquer me, I'll be Amitabha Buddha. Gu Laonyang looked disdainful. Mother, daughter.in.law dare not. Chi had a mournful expression on her face, as if she were a little daughter.in.law who had suffered a lot. She tried to reason and plead hard, since my daughter.in.law entered the Gu family door and entered the Gu family genealogy, she has always been cautious in her words and actions. My daughter.in-law knows she doesn't want you to like her, but we are all family members. Can you bear to let my daughter.in-law leave her unborn child homeless and lonely? As for fate, my daughter.in-law has both parents at home, siblings, and everyone is safe and healthy. There is no such thing as ferocity. My daughter.in-law requests to go to Qingyun again. Temple, talk to that Master Haosheng about it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. 3 Divisions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. 3 divisions. With these words, Gu Laonyang's face couldn't hold back and she said angrily, if you're not afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of 1. I dare not gamble my life. As for Qingyun Temple, I was looking for a respected Zen master. You're so brave that you dare to question him. I really don't know how great the world is. The speaker may seem unintentional, but listening is intentional. Gu Xiaozi originally wanted to drive out the big house. He got all his property and his eyes flickered slightly. He lowered his head and whispered in Gu Laonyang's ear. Gu Laonyang's eyes lit up and he had an idea. She calmly brushed her robe and said, what you just said is also reasonable. In a registered residence, even if you are expelled, the harm can't be completely eliminated. Besides, if you are driven out, outsiders don't know what's inside, they think I treated you unkindly. In that case, let's divide the family. Ah! How can this be? Uncle Gu and the others were the first to question. Their parents are not separated, and besides, the big house has just lost a man. Let her, a pregnant widow, go out alone. Aren't you afraid of people talking? I can't justify it. Chi breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, not in vain for her repeated hints just now. After just a moment of effort, she also thought a lot. The strength of the mother's family, the attitude of the husband's family, and the husband's family are all too important for this ancient woman to live well. She tried to recall for a moment and found that, as Gu Laonyang said, her family's attitude towards her daughter seemed very indifferent, but she couldn't recall the reason, as if her original body had blocked this memory. Her family is not strong enough, and her husband has passed away again. It is obvious that her in-laws no longer treat her well. In this situation, being stubborn and shameless will definitely not do well. Here, the lives of women and children are not worth anything. She has no husband, and if her family is any more shameless, they can sell her. As modern women, how can such things be allowed to happen? The only way out now is to separate families and households. Only by being in charge of the family and controlling her own destiny can she feel at ease. Several uncles spoke out against it, but Mrs. Gu remained resolute. I will take care of this family. Anyway, I will never leave her at home. Whoever wants to, you can take her home and take good care of her. The rebel army made several uncles angry and speechless. They brought a pregnant widow home and helped others raise their children. They also had a large family to support themselves. If they really brought it home, the family would not be able to make a fuss. The fourth uncle looked at Chi, who had been bowing his head silently since his mother proposed to split the family. His eyes were lost in thought, and he pulled the second brother who was still trying to argue and shook his head at him. Xiaoen daughter.in-law, your mother.in-law wants to split up, what do you say? With the words of the fourth uncle, Chi looked up and wept softly, since my mother insists on dividing the family, my daughter.in-law, as a younger generation, naturally only dares to listen. Don't worry, even if we divide the family, my daughter.in-law will come over every morning and evening to greet you and serve your elderly family. Don't worry, if you divide the family, you will be 2 families. Don't step here, said Gu Laonyang with a disgusted expression in her eyes. She was increasingly disdainful of this ominous thing. Chi said with a mournful expression, yes. Several uncles are also mature and refined. Seeing that they could reach a consensus in just a few sentences, I thought for a moment and understood. Okay, since both the third wife and Xiaoen wife have made up their minds, let's talk about how to divide this family. Uncle Gu has always liked Gu Xiaoen and is willing to help his widow and posthumous son. Unfortunately, Mrs. Gu is clearly biased towards her armpits. Then give her the old house and 5 acres of land at the east end of the village. As soon as he said this, Uncle Gu was furious. The fields in the east of the village are also considered fields. The annual harvest of 5 acres of land is less than 3 stones, and how much can be left after paying taxes? If there is a flood, it will be a complete failure. Do you have any conscience when you throw such a mess at their orphans and widows? At least they are also filial daughters-in-law and children. Filial piety is the eldest son, and he is still lying there, watching you. Gu Laonyang's face turned red when she was told about it. She glanced at the coffin next to her and quickly added, "Big brother, don't get too excited. I haven't finished speaking yet. I even gave her the easternmost mountain and the small bamboo forest in front of the water pool and behind the house." After Gu Laonyang finished speaking and waited for a moment, Uncle Gu was very speechless and said, "What else?" Gu Laonyang said with a calm old face, "All right, it's enough to support her and the child." Xiaoen is the eldest son. Uncle Gu patted the handle of the chair with some excitement. Don't be fooled by the fact that the old lady seems to have divided a lot of things for Chi-Chi, the house, fields, mountains, ponds, and bamboo forests. Actually, it's just a pile of junk. The most barren place in Sanha village is at the east end of the village, and families with only a little ability have already moved away. Compared to other properties of the Gu family, such as a large mansion, hundreds of acres of fertile land, 3 shops in the town, and 2 hills filled with tea trees. That thing is really not worth mentioning. Big brother, filial piety is gone. Gu Laonyang also raised her voice and spoke harshly, "My eldest son is gone, it's all her fault. I can give her a way to survive, it's already a bodhisattva's heart. Besides, she still doesn't know if she's a man or a woman in her belly, and whether she can grow up after being born or not is still a matter of debate. She has all the things in the old house allocated to her. What do you want from me, the old lady? The eldest son inherits her ancestral inheritance, and when it comes to the horizon, I'm not afraid." The old lady was already determined by all this nonsense and sat looking out at the gradually darkening sky outside the hall. Uncle Gu and others looked at each other and could only give up with a deep sigh. "Xiaoen daughter.in.law, what do you say?" Chi-Chi's expression flickered for a moment, then said lightly, "I have no objection, let me make the decision." While they were arguing, Chi-Chi took the time to call out to her merit system, but unfortunately the system never responded, and she felt a bit anxious. She knew that being able to be reborn on this body was definitely due to the system's credit, and when she fell off the cliff, she seemed to hear the voice of Xiao Detzi. "Hey, since that's the case, we don't have much to say. After tomorrow's filial piety funeral and burial, we can proceed with the separation of families. Several uncles have left, and they have already done what they should and can do about the dispute among the 3 families of the Gu family. They are also powerless in anything else. The deceased has passed away, while the survivors are still alive, regardless of good or bad, in order to continue." On the night of February, the dusk was heavy and the wind was cold, penetrating through the gaps of doors and windows, easily penetrating the bone marrow. The oil lamp on the altar occasionally made a hissing sound, and the dim yellow flames flickered and flickered. No matter how bold Chi-Chi was, he couldn't hold on anymore. He gathered his clothes and leaned against the iron basin, drawing light and warmth. He picked up the paper money beside him and threw it into the iron basin, letting the flames burn even louder. She was the only one left in the hall. She was cold and hungry now, but no one cared about her. "Xiao Detzi. Are you there?" She called out to the system again, but unfortunately still didn't receive a response. Chi-Chi sighed somewhat dejectedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 44. People from my mother's family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. People from my mother's family, Ji. The slight sound of pushing the door made Chi suddenly look up and stare closely at the door. Chunny. Seeing it was her, Chi breathed a sigh of relief and saw the plate she was holding in her hand, knowing her purpose. Grandmother, please make do with some. Chunny placed the plate in front of Chi. Inside were 2 mixed noodles and a nest. From her original memory, she knew that this kind of mixed noodles and steamed buns were food provided by the Gu family to her servants, indicating that Chunny had saved her own food. Looking back on Chunny's every move today, Chi felt a sense of unease in her heart. Thank you. She didn't show any affectation, she was so hungry that her stomach hurt, and some food was already a blessing. Getting started is still warm, and I am even more grateful to Chunny in my heart. Upon hearing her gratitude, Chunny felt guilty and said, I'm sorry, young lady. Our whole family still needs to make a living at the Gu family. She is a maid assigned by the Gu family to the young master, who should have belonged to the wealthy family and cared about their interests. The eldest young master passed away, and from now on, this family will all belong to the second young master. For her own future livelihood, she can only obey the orders of the second young master. Chi was taken aback for a moment, then naturally understood and smiled nonchalantly, you don't need to apologize, I'm fine again. I also want to thank you for taking care of me these days, really, thank you. Chi is really grateful to her. Since Gu Xiaoen had an accident, Gu Laonyang has not given her a good face and has not given her 3 meals a day. The original body seemed to have lost its desire for survival, and spent the whole day in a daze, unaware of finding something to eat. She relied on Chunny to secretly deliver some steamed buns every night to make a living. She was very suspicious that she had given up her life because she didn't want to live anymore. At the same time, in the west wing of the backyard, Gu Xiaozi and Lu were discussing Chi. Xianggong, do you think today's sister-in-law is a bit different? Lu sat in front of the dressing table, leisurely grooming her long green hair. Gu Xiaozi hummed a tune and lay on the bed, crossing his legs. Looking back on today's Chi, weak willows supporting the wind, I still pity him. Tsk, I couldn't help but swallow my saliva and pointed out, it's really different. Hey, what do you think about my mother? She gave her so much family property, and she still doesn't know if she's pregnant with a man or a woman. Besides, she's still young, and it's possible that she'll remarry after 3 years. So, shouldn't all of our family's wealth be cheap for outsiders? Lu was brought back during the 100 days of the death of the Gu family master and his filial piety. He was not clear about the situation in the Gu family's old house and only thought that Mrs. Gu had allocated a lot of things to the big house. Upon hearing that Chi might remarry, Gu Xiaozi felt displeased and patted the bedboard, shouting, how can that be done? Yeah, we can't take advantage of her. Lu shared a grudge and changed his mind. If you mention it to your mother tomorrow, she definitely can't take advantage of her either. Gu Xiaozi showed disdain for the property on the other side of the old house, feeling so annoyed that there was something else to do. He perfunctorily said, what's cheap? The old house is just a pile of junk. Don't worry if you don't understand. What's going on? Mom said she wants to give her a mountaintop. In Lulu's heart, the mountaintop is filled with tea trees, which are valuable existence. Gu Xiaozi was pressing down on the evil fire in his heart and urgently needed to vent his anger. He impatiently said, all right, it's all said you don't understand. Why are you procrastinating? Come up quickly. Lulu's heart thumped for a moment, and she smiled cautiously as she said, we've run out of dodo pills at home. Let's go to bed early this morning. Gu Xiaozi furrowed his brows, secretly expressing his misfortune, but he didn't give up. He urged, what's bothering you? If you come up, you can come up. Not eating at once won't hurt anything. It's not so easy. After tomorrow's big brother's funeral, I'll go to the town to buy it and make up for it for you. Hurry up. Lu couldn't resist Gu Xiaozi. Seeing that his expression was already displeased, he could only obediently listen, while also harboring a sense of luck. Chi stayed up all night in a daze, finally staying up until dawn. The Gu family suddenly became lively, and today is the day of Gu Xiaowen's funeral. She didn't need to worry about anything, just knelt on the side crying with a big belly, but couldn't cry. In the end, she could only secretly get her semi-wet handkerchief, tuck in the corners of her eyes, and pretend to whimper. Lianhua County Qi Jia Qi Shujin came to offer condolences. The sound of a notification came from the door, and Chi's heart tightened. It was his original elder brother who had arrived. Lianhua County is adjacent to Qingshan County, and the Qi family is also somewhat famous in the local area. They have inherited traditional craftsmanship and practice medicine and pharmaceuticals. However, her father did not learn the craft at home, but instead took the path of studying and taking the imperial examination. Unfortunately, he did not pass the imperial examination for many years and stopped at being a scholar. Chi tried hard to search through the memories of her mother's family, but found that there was a gap in them for a period of time, and it couldn't be connected. And she knew that memory must be very important, because after that blank space, the attitude of the family towards her original body changed, and her original body suddenly married Gu Xiaowen. At the foot of the mountain, Chi watched as the procession of coffins escorting Gu Xiaowen gradually drifted away, breathed a slight sigh of relief, and finally came to an end. In ancient times, women were not allowed to go to the grave for burial. It was believed that women had too much yin energy, and funerals were places where they combined with the extremely yin areas of the underworld. Excessive yin energy was inconvenient for the deceased to pass on. Coincidentally, she doesn't want to go either. She's so tired and just wants to go back and rest. She stumbled underfoot and was about to fall. A pair of big hands supported her, and upon seeing it, it turned out to be Qi Shujin. Chi stood up and thanked Fu Shen. "Thank you very much, big brother." "Hey, are our siblings so unfamiliar?" Qi Shujin looked at Chi's big belly and obviously thin and haggard face, feeling very sorry. Chi also collected some pictures of her childhood at the Qi family, all of which were happy and joyful. "What are your plans in the future? Otherwise, come home with me." Qi Shujin hesitated. "Can I still go back?" Chi was somewhat surprised, but also moved. No matter how indifferent her family was to her, after all, they were original relatives, so they shouldn't harm her, right? Qi Shujin exclaimed excitedly, "What kind of words are you talking about? Naturally, you can go back. That's your home." After getting excited, he calmed down a bit and said, "After returning home, apologize to your father well. Although he is actually doing it for your own good and will forgive you." The son didn't mention his father's mistake, but the last sentence seemed to lack confidence. "Don't be stubborn anymore. When you have a child, our family will find a good marriage for you. Everything will start from scratch and it will get better." Chi has a dark line in her heart. Forget it, she still can't go back. She doesn't know what conflicts there are between her family and her original self, but listening to them will definitely give her some guidance on her future life. "Let's leave some space for each other." "No need, I don't want to get married again," Chi interrupted him and rubbed his stomach. "I just want to grow up with my child and live a simple life." Why are you so stubborn? This child, hey. Xiaoqi, after listening to my elder brother's advice, staying with this child will only drag you down, especially since Gu Daolong has gone again now. If you stay with the Gu family again, if someone with intentions catches you, something will happen sooner or later. Qi Shujin didn't say it in a vague way, which made Chi's heart thump and his heart beat faster. Is there really something wrong with this child? Chi didn't dare to ask, nor did she respond to Qi Shujin's words. In the end, Qi Shujin left disappointed and left for her to think carefully. After thinking it through, she went home. This big brother came and went in a hurry, but left behind an explosive bag that would ignite at some point. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. System Regression. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 System Regression. Chi dragged her tired body back to Gu's own room and lay in bed for a few seconds before falling asleep. She was really tired. She woke up again with a loud knocking on the door. "Grandma, Madam asked you to go to the main room." "Okay." Chi trimmed her hair a little, closed the door, and followed the newcomer. In addition to the 3 uncles from last night, there is also an old man and a middle-aged uncle in the hall. "Xiaoen daughter-in-law, I heard from your mother-in-law that your father-in-law had already divided the family before he passed away. Is this the case?" The speaker was the head of the Gu family, who was also the descendant of the Jinsher and another Jiren who had passed down from their ancestors. Chi didn't expect that Mrs. Gu would bring out her deceased father-in-law to take the blame, and there was no one left. "Looking at my 3 uncles, their faces have turned black to the bottom of a pot." "Yes," Chi admitted. Refuting at this time was completely meaningless, and she just wanted to get the separation document as soon as possible. Chief Gu furrowed his brows slightly, pondered for a moment, and said to the middle-aged man beside him, "Since that's the case, Shan Chong, you can write it." "Yes." This person is the village chief of Sanha village, and naturally, he is also a descendant of that branch. It can be seen that having a successful candidate has many benefits for the descendants of the family. The 2 of them had already left the Wufu. Although they had regrets about Gu Xiaoen's death, many of them secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Gu Xiaoen is too excellent, which has put a lot of pressure on many people. The family is vast and has numerous branches, and there are naturally many open and secret struggles within it. However, when dealing with outsiders, it is definitely consistent with the outside world, which is the meaning of the existence of the family. Regarding the clearly unfair division of the Gu family, the chief of the clan only gave a few meaningful glances to the others without expressing any opinion. While waiting for the separation document, Gu Xiaozi quietly tugged at Gu Laonyang's clothes. Gu Laonyang understood and, under pressure, said, "I have to add one more thing. The ugly saying is that Qi Nyang is young at the beginning. If she wants to remarry in 3 years, then I will have to take back these family assets." The Depei dynasty was founded less than a century ago. In order to increase its population, the new dynasty has always encouraged widows to remarry. Even if there are heirs, it is okay. If there are widows without heirs, the court will also force them to remarry. Although Chi didn't want to get married again, Gu Laonyang's face was really disgusting to her. She wasn't so easy to bully and said frankly, "Don't worry, I won't take any of your Gu family with me when I remarry. What you have given now is clearly written in the family separation document. When my child is born, if it's a daughter, I will leave her as the dowry. If it's a son, it will naturally be left to him for inheritance. I will definitely tell him that this is all the property left by his grandmother to him after his biological father passed away." You slut. Gu Laonyang was so angry, thinking of that pile of junk. She was quite guilty, thinking that her great-grandson would grow up to be dissatisfied with her grandmother because of her favoritism. She couldn't sit still and rushed up to hit her, but unexpectedly stumbled and fell to the ground. "Oh my foot. Mother, what's wrong with you?" Gu Xiaozi quickly went to help. "Oh, don't move, it hurts." Gu Laonyang wailed. "Hurry up and invite the doctor." Chi pouted, indeed the first to flirt is cheap. But seeing her face covered in pain and sweat, the professional ethics of a doctor still couldn't bear to ignore her, so he crouched down to examine her. Now he poked a hornet's nest and said, "Painful, bitch, what do you want to do? You want to murder? Ah. You're really here to crack down on our family. You must die hard." The scream drowned out the clicking sound of the bones. Gu Laonyang scolded without hesitation, but Chi burst into laughter because she heard that the system, which had not been active for a long time, had just started to move. The host is treating the wounded, activating the merit system, and getting a little merit value. Please continue to work hard and activate other functions of the system, she said. Xiadizi, have you come back yet? Well, because I was reborn with your soul and spent all our merit points, I have also regressed to the initial state. Xiao Chi, you need to work hard. Little joke, wait for my sister to take you flying. Chi was in a good mood and stood up, saying, all right, get up quickly. It's just that some bones are misaligned. I've already corrected it for you. What's the big deal? The incident suddenly caught everyone's attention, and now they are all staring at Mrs. Gu. Gu Laonyang's face turned red, whether it was in pain or embarrassment. Under the gaze of everyone, she stood up smoothly with the help of her youngest son, moved her feet, took a few steps, and was indeed fine. Xiaoen daughter.in.law, your skill. Oh, my lord may not know. Although my father is a scholar, the medical clinic opened by my uncle in Lotus County is quite famous. Our ancestors practice medicine, and it has been passed down from generation to generation. I have been exposed to it since I was young and have learned a lot. At this moment, she is very grateful to Qi Jia for allowing her to use medical skills under the pretext of perfection in the future. Oh. Not bad. The clan leader nodded. In ancient times, although scholars, farmers, merchants, and doctors belonged to the labor force and had a relatively low status, most people still held a reverence for doctors who ate grains and who could avoid illness. Grandpa, uncle, please write down everything I just said in the separation document. Some people in the province may not be able to eat or sleep well because they are worried that I will be plotting his family's property. You. Humph. Gu Laonyang pointed at her nose, so angry. Gu, the head of the Gu clan, touched his beard and readily agreed. Although Chi deliberately mocked Gu Laonyang when saying this, both sides had reached an agreement and should have written it to avoid further arguments in the future. What if my little nephew can't give birth or grow up? Damn it, what nonsense are you talking about? Gu Laonyang took a quick hit. After Gu Xiaozi finished speaking, he regretted it. Sure enough, everyone looked at him with a stern expression and disgust, especially the gaze of his sister.in.law, which made people shudder. What I'm saying is also a possibility. The words had already been spoken, and he could only force himself to defend himself. Chi lowered his head and a hint of darkness flashed in his eyes, secretly swearing that he would not let go of him. The intersection of time and space, although not a single person, has similar faces and is equally repulsive. If no one inherits Gu Xiaoen's bloodline, I will give the family property to my family. Are you satisfied with this answer? Chi looked coldly at Gu Xiaozi, her eyes frosty. Satisfied, satisfied. Gu Xiaozi murmured with lingering fear. What other conditions do you have to mention together? Chi looked at Gu Xiaozi and Gu Laonyang with a heavy face like water. For example, do you want me to come here every day to meditate in the morning? How can I solve my mother's elderly care problem? Upon hearing these words, Gu Xiaozi became enthusiastic and said, since my sister.in.law mentioned it, let's give my mother $1 or $2 silver in retirement money every month. Mom, do you think it's okay? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Moving. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Moving. Before Mrs. Gu could speak, she heard Chi chuckle. 1 or 2 silver coins. Second brother is really wealthy. I don't know if the family's property allocated to the big house adds up to a year's worth of retirement silver for my mother. Why don't you let uncle calculate? Since it has reached this point, Chi doesn't plan to pretend anymore. Seize the opportunity to nip all the subsequent troubles in the bud. Gu Laonyang quickly stopped and said, no need to trouble, I'll stay with the second room. I don't need you to come and stay alert, nor do I need you to give me retirement money. She gritted her teeth and cursed hundreds of words in her heart. Chi frowned and said with regret, actually, if my mother needs us to live in a long-term care home, my daughter-in-law is also very willing. I will tidy up a room in the old house and welcome you to move in at any time. Mrs. Gu has difficulty speaking, making her old face even worse. Uncle, could you please add this as well? Chi didn't care about her. This dead old lady was always targeting her original body. Oh, now it's her. She used to pretend to be weak and judge the situation, but now, she won't get used to them. Alright, since everyone has no other requirements, could you please find a few people to help me move the house? There are also many tables, chairs, and benches in the east, and I am a pregnant woman. Chi touched her big belly, the meaning was self-evident. Okay. The clan chief watched a big play and had some different opinions on this granddaughter-in-law, but was willing to help. Shanchong, we'll arrange some people to come over later. No, don't bother the patriarch, we will arrange for the niece and daughter-in-law. Uncle Gu listened and got up quickly. Today's family ugliness is really lost. If we let more people from the main branch join us, we don't know what to say. Regardless of others' opinions, we directly told the eldest son waiting outside the door, Xiaoming, go find more boys to help your siblings move. Hey, okay. Gu Xiaoming accepted the order. Thank you, uncle. Chi was very satisfied and bowed to the clan leader, expressing sincere gratitude. Thank you very much, grandpa and uncle, today. Clan Chief Gu touched his long beard and smiled, no need to be polite. We share the same ancestor, and should have supported each other. If you have any difficulties in the future, feel free to go find your uncle at any time. Yeah, if you have something to do, come find uncle, haha. Although Gu Shanchong didn't know why his uncle wanted to help him, he still answered with ease. Chi quickly thanked him again, thinking that the clan chief and village chief could move around. Gu Laonyang had something to say again, but was stopped by Uncle Gu's warning eyes. With a suppressed face, she bid farewell to Gu Dezong village chief, and couldn't help but curse, "You're a Chi Nyang. It was my old lady who took a wrong look at you. I thought you were just destined to clash with my Gu family, and you were still honest and upright. Before, you were pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger. Where did my mother-in-law say that? Chi Nyang has always been the same Chi Nyang. However, after my husband passed away, the actions of my mother-in-law and second uncle allowed Chi Nyang to experience firsthand what it means to be good at being bullied and good at being ridden." Chi smiled sadly and looked at the three uncles across from her, feeling helpless and sorrowful. Human hearts are unpredictable, and I didn't expect that even the closest relatives would be full of calculations. Oh, what Chi Nyang is asking for is only to have a place to live and have a safe child, which is also extremely difficult. Originally, the three uncles felt displeased with her earlier decision to seek help from the clan chief over them, but now they have also dispersed a bit. Hey, in the end, it's just that they didn't care about their family and didn't do it properly. It's this old lady who doesn't do it properly. Thinking of this, Uncle Gu sternly rebuked, "Alright, this is the end of the matter. Don't bring it up again. Do you still think it's not embarrassing enough?" Chi respectfully bowed. Although she is not afraid of the group in front of her, there is no need to offend them all. Gu Laonyang wanted to say more, but was stopped by Gu Xiaozi who was standing beside her. "Dad, I brought you here." At this moment, Gu Xiaoming and a group of male servants gathered in the yard. Uncle Gu didn't want to participate more in the lawsuits between their mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, so he said, "Let's go, quickly move the house." In the future, the two families will live their lives peacefully without interfering with each other. Chi couldn't help but turn around and leave the hall to lead the way. Gu Laonyang said to Gu Xiaozi anxiously, "You go and keep an eye on the things of the Gu family. You can't let that slut take any needle or thread with you. Enough, you're not finished yet. Uncle Gu, who was walking behind, was really angry and scolded his siblings rudely. Ignorant women and children, short-sighted. How could my Gu family marry a woman like you to enter the house? It's really unfortunate. Big brother. Gu Laonyang was scolded and blinded, unbelievable. Uncle, is this not quite suitable? Gu Xiaozi's face was gloomy, as he was an elder and dared not be too presumptuous, but it was clearly not pleasant. Uncle Gu was really angry, with a hint of tears in his cloudy eyes. He looked at him with a serious heart and said, "Fourth master, one should not be too lacking in conscience. When one is doing things, the heavens are watching. Listen to uncle, leave a line in everything, so that we can see each other in the future. Everything should be done with moderation, and one should be content." After finishing speaking, Uncle Gu sighed and walked away with his hands behind his back, leaving behind Gu Xiaozi and his son with faces as ugly as constipation. The East Wing room where Chi and Gu Xiaoan live has a total of 3 rooms, including a bedroom, a study, and a children's room that Gu Xiaoan started preparing after learning that Chi was pregnant. The small bed, cradle, and tambourine inside make Chi speechless. At first, Chi and her family had an unpleasant time, and they got married too hastily and the journey was long. Her dowry was indeed a bit rudimentary, with 2 red wooden boxes. One box contained some seasonal clothes and bedding, while the other box contained scattered old items that Chi used at home. Too shabby, this is also the reason why Mrs. Gu has always looked down on her. She didn't know that some sophisticated families have a habit of saving dowry for their daughters since childhood. Chi Mu, hiding from Chi father, secretly folded some trivial things into silver and pressed them at the bottom of Chi's box. She was afraid that her daughter's life would not be good, so she added more, totaling 88 taels. In fact, as the youngest sister in the family, Chi has been favored since childhood. However, since the passing of the elderly Chi family member and the separation of the brothers, Chi's father is not the eldest son and does not inherit the family business. The family has only received 20% of the divided property, and the family has suddenly become financially disadvantaged. With 5 children at home and a heavy burden, he had to give up taking scientific exams and start a private school to support his family. It was truly a great effort for Chi Mu to take this large sum of silver with her to Chi. After marriage, Gu Xiaoan gave his original body another money box, which contained his small treasury, and with a slight tap, it was over 100 taels. Chi gathered her jewelry and money together, carried a handkerchief, and followed the large army towards the Gu family's old house in the east of the village. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Indeed, it is the ancestral home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Indeed, it is the ancestral home. In fact, the most valuable items in these 3 rooms are the 2 shelves of books and manuscripts in Gu Xiaoan's study. She knew that not only Mrs. Gu would be reluctant to part ways, but even Uncle Gu became envious when he saw so many books. Chi was completely unaware, calmly commanding the children to pack and take them away while reciting words. This was all the thoughts left by the child's father. When the child grew up in the future, he would definitely be like his father, intelligent, eager to learn, and successful. Oh, these are all things belonging to Gu Xiaoan, which are the things of the big house. They should be left for the children. Who dares to have any ideas and see if she doesn't hate him to death? Damn it, I'm so angry with you. Gu Laonyang stood at the entrance of the main house, watching as she lifted something and was pulled away, feeling heartbroken. When the last person left the courtyard, she vigorously tapped the floor with her cane. Xiaozi, hurry up and close the door. A group of robbers, how could they be so unreasonable? A hint of cruelty flashed in Gu Xiaozi's eyes, and after several reflections, he suddenly had an idea. He murmured a few words in Gu Laonyang's ear, and her anger decreased slightly. A hint of malice appeared on her lips. You go handle this matter and find more people. The mother and son were having some bad ideas again, and Chi couldn't care anymore. She was looking at the house in front of her and worrying. Old house, she didn't expect to be so old. The courtyard is filled with withered grass and thorns, and the side rooms and walls on both sides have completely collapsed due to being built with mud bricks. The roofs of the 3 main rooms are leaking air, and at least half of the tiles are missing. The doors and windows have already decayed to the point where they are no longer visible. Can people live here? Chi looked at the scene before her and couldn't accept it. She had thought that the old lady wouldn't give her good things, but she didn't expect it to be like this. Uncle Gu and others were also quite surprised and said in a faint tone, this old house should have been deserted for 40 or 50 years. Since our grandfather passed the imperial examination and became a scholar, our group has gradually emerged. We bought land in the west of the village and rebuilt our ancestral house here. I didn't expect that when the house reached the hands of the 3rd house, no one came to repair it. Chi's lips twitched slightly. What should she do? Oh, Xiao Chi, run, run. Suddenly, Xiao Dezi's unique dull voice appeared in his mind. Listening to his anxious tone, Chi couldn't help but become nervous and looked around intently. What's going on? What's going on? There are snakes and mice, a nest of snakes in the east and a nest of mice in the west. Let's run quickly, I don't want to have a nest with snakes and mice. Chi rolled her eyes silently and said helplessly, please, you are a data-driven, non-physical virtual system. What are you afraid of? It's me who should be afraid, right? I'm about to have a nest of snakes and mice. Pooh, I don't want it either. Please help me take a look, what other demons and monsters are hiding here. But I'm just afraid, murmured Xiao Dezi. Chi frowned and didn't really want to live here. No one has lived here for 40 or 50 years, so it's not safe to think about it. There must be many snakes, insects, mice, and ants. Can't she go in? She's carrying so many things, where else can she go? Uncle, how long will it take for me to overthrow and rebuild this place? This. Uncle Gu was a bit surprised, but he thought that although the 3rd siblings did not give her any silver, it was unlikely that the family had a dowry silver and was willing to rebuild and live better. It's currently idle farming, so I'll call in a little more manpower and estimate that it will be completed in half a month. Uncle Gu hesitated slightly. However, the bricks here are basically unusable, and we need to add a lot of tiles. If we really have to demolish them all, the cost of reconstruction will not be small. How about we make a simple repair and stay for now? Daughter, instead of rebuilding here, it's better to find other places to build new ones. Ahem, here, even if it's built, you can't live. Ahem. Not far away came an elderly voice. Chi turned around and saw an old woman with a pale face, who was already in her 60s, slowly walking towards this direction. Aunt Lu, why did you come over? Uncle Gu quickly greeted the person as soon as he saw them. Why is your cough so bad? Have you seen it with the doctor? It's all old problems, nothing serious. Lu Pezi smiled kindly, meticulously combing her silver hair. Although her clothes were patched, they were washed very clean, giving a very comfortable feeling. Chi recalled several pictures from her memory. After the wedding, Gu Xiaoan visited several old people in the village with his original body. She had seen them. Hello, Grandma 6. Hey, it's from the Xiaoan family, right? Who are you? Grandma Lu, please call me Xiaoqi. Let's split up and live a different life. My mother-in-law gave the ancestral house in the east of the village, 5 acres of land, the water pool in front of the house, the bamboo forest behind the house, and the mountain in the east of the village to the big house. It's time to move now. Chi explained everything he had received in a grand manner, and not all the kids present were his own brothers. When he heard this, he showed a surprised expression. some of whom were already whispering. Chi-Chi had a faint smile on her face. Despite Uncle Gu's embarrassment, she asked Grandma Lu about the situation here and said, "Grandma Lu, what did you mean by saying you can't live here?" A hint of pity flashed in Lu Pezi's eyes, and she turned to look into the distance. There was a large river whose width was difficult to estimate with the naked eye. "Hey, the terrain here is too low. Almost every rainy season, the water in the river rises. Last year, it had already flooded that crooked-necked tree." Everyone's gaze turned to the crooked-necked tree, located in the left rear of this house. "Can't it? Has it already reached that point?" Uncle Gu clearly didn't expect it to be so serious. "Well, it keeps rising year by year, and I don't know when it will end. The paddy fields near the river used to be the best fertile fields, but now they are not as good as the worst wasteland." Lu Pezi sighed and said to Chi-Chi, "By the way, your 5 acres of land have always been planted by the Daqing family. Last year, they were flooded and had no harvest. Not only did they work in vain, but they also lost their grain crops. I heard that their family doesn't plan to plant them this year, you." She glanced at Chi-Chi's belly and hesitated to speak. Bad news came one after another. Chi-Chi was unable to roast and had to solve the current accommodation problem first. It was not a problem for a group of people to jam here with things. "Grandma Lu, can I rent a place at your house for a while first? I'll move when I finish building a new house here." Chi-Chi went to Grandma Lu's house and knew about her situation. She thought it was quite suitable, but she didn't know in theory, Chi-Chi carries a sense of filial piety, which makes it difficult for her to walk around other people's homes, let alone borrow it. However, as a modern soul, she didn't realize this and suddenly brought it up. Lu Pezi didn't expect to encounter this situation when she passed by to watch a lively scene, but she agreed without much thought, "Sure, you don't need to rent. You can stay for as long as you want." Seeing Chi-Chi now, she thought of her former self and remembered Gu Xiaoan's kindness in the past, and she didn't care about taboos. She is willing to help her. The life of Lu Pezi was also full of endless hardships and heartache. Her husband and Gu Xiaoan's grandfather are cousins, and the relationship between the two families is still within the 5 clothes. Back then, Grandpa Six went to serve in the military but never came back. Grandma Six lived with her son and finally married his wife to have a grandson. His son went to serve in the military but never returned. Please recommend and collect. Thank you for your support. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Stay at ease. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Stay at ease. Otherwise, fate is always astonishingly similar, with completely different choices. The daughter.in.law chose to remarry, leaving behind a 6-year-old granddaughter and a 2-year-old grandson. Lu Pezi is once again alone, and this time she has to raise 2 children, making life even more difficult. The position of Lu Pezi's family is relatively good, and the terrain is considered high in this area. The yard was renovated once when my son got married. Although it was a bit small, it was cleaned very cleanly. There are only 6 mother.in.law, 13-year-old Xiaohua, and 9-year-old Tianwazi in the family, with a simple population. These are all the reasons why Chi-Chi is willing to come and stay. Lu Pezi sorted out the eastern room and gave it to Chi-Chi to live in. With many people and great strength, everything was moved in a short time. The things from the previous 3 rooms were now all packed together in one room, making it difficult for her to turn around with a big belly. Chi-Chi looked at it but was extremely satisfied. When she came to a different world, she was alone. From now on, all of this belonged to her. When the village chief got the female household registered, she would be missing a house that truly belonged to her. With registered residence, a house, an industry, and the baby in her belly. She has a foothold in the world, a home and a home. Now everything is moving in a good direction. Don't worry, take your time. After seeing off Uncle Gu and others, Chi took some broken silver with him and hid everything else before going out to look for Grandma Lu. Grandma Lu, keep these 1 or 2 silver coins and count them as my rent, she said. No need, I told you everything. You can live here as you please. Cough, cough, quickly put away the silver. As expected, Lu Pezi refused. Although she said she wouldn't charge rent, Chi couldn't refuse to pay, and her brothers still have to keep track of their accounts. We can't take their kindness as a duty. But if Grandma Lu doesn't accept it, even if she forcefully gives it, it will appear unfair. So she blessed herself and thanked her, saying, Madam Chi, thank Grandma Lu here. Cough cough, don't be too polite. Since you call me Grandma, I'll treat you as my granddaughter. Cough cough cough, just stay here peacefully. Mrs. Six coughed several times as she spoke. Chi felt worried for her as she listened, and had an idea in her heart. She volunteered. Sixth Grandma, Qi Nyang's family has been engaged in medicine for generations. Qi Nyang has been exposed to it since childhood and also has some understanding of medical skills. Can I show you? Lu Pezi didn't say anything after hearing this. The little flower beside her couldn't sit still and didn't care about cowardice and unfamiliarity. She took the initiative and said with a hint of anxiety, Sister-in-law, can you help Grandma heal her? She has been coughing for a long time and refuses to talk to the doctor, saying that spending money recklessly is useless. Xiao Hua. Lu Pezi gave her a slightly serious look, stopping her from speaking fluently, not wanting her own predicament to be spread out in front of others. Hey, this is really an old problem for me. I've seen it in town before, and I've taken several pills with medicine, but it's useless. I still cough, and it's okay to cough. As long as I get used to it, I won't spend that wasted money anymore. Lu Pezi explained a few words seriously. Chi nodded solemnly and said, let's talk about coughing. It's not that big or small. Although you don't think it's a big deal, it's not a problem to cough like this all the time. If you don't feel uncomfortable, the most important thing is that the children are worried. Besides coughing incessantly, what other discomfort do you have? After listening, Lu Pezi glanced at Xiao Hua and saw her whole bitter melon face, hoping and worried. In the end, she didn't persist and truthfully revealed her symptoms. Chi asked a few more questions and concluded that Lu Pezi was suffering from chronic bronchitis. Grandma Lu, your situation is not serious. I have a prescription here. Let's eat it for 7 days first. If it works for you, give it a try. Chi has many ready-made formulas in his mind, all of which were exchanged in the merit system using merit values in modern times. Don't worry, my prescriptions are all common medicinal herbs, and you don't need to spend too much copper coins. Some can be found in the wilderness. Milk, give it a try, give it a try. Xiao Hua anxiously urged Lu Laozi by pulling her clothes. Lu Pezi nodded helplessly, but still felt sorry for the silver. She felt a bit embarrassed and said, what medicinal herbs do you need? You tell me, I'll go find them. Okay, I'll write it for you. Chi smiled and went back to the room to get a set of Gu Xiaoan's pens, ink, paper, and inkstone, quickly writing a prescription. Oh, Zayakiki, it's reopening so quickly. Business is booming. That's it, Zayadizi. With this prescription, Grandma Lu's illness will definitely improve. Can you calculate the merit value for me first? Anyway, it will be given sooner or later. Chi's eyes rolled and suggested. This is not acceptable, some rules still need to be followed. The system refused slightly arrogantly. Stingy. Chi put down her pen and went out with a prescription. Chi has personally experienced the benefits of this merit system and is very enthusiastic about earning merit points. Chi carefully explained the prescription, and it was true that the vast majority of medicinal herbs, when changed to common names, have been heard of and can be found. Unfortunately, some seasons are not right and cannot be found immediately. Oh, these things won't be available until April, otherwise we'll have to wait a little longer. Wait a minute, some are still in September or December, and we have to gather them all until the monkey year and horse month come true. Chi took out 2 taels of silver and handed them to Xiao Hua. Take this and go to the pharmacy to buy 7 copies first. No way, how can I take your silver? Lu Pezi immediately tried to stop it. Chi had already stuffed the silver into Xiao Hua's hand, grabbed Lu Pezi's hand, and explained, it's like I made it first. Let Xiao Hua help me pick medicine and pay it back later. Is it really possible? Xiao Hua tightly grasped the silver, feeling a little excited. Well, of course I can. In fact, I know how to prepare some common medicinal herbs. When they are ready, selling them to a pharmacy will be more valuable than selling herbs directly. Chi said to reassure Lu Pezi, when Xiao Hua pays off the money for this medicine, I will calculate silver for the extra. This is to give to Xiao Hua, to their family, to find a way out. Lu Pezi's eyes were slightly red, and she couldn't refuse at all. She could only tightly hold her hand and excitedly thank her, really. Thank you so much. Grandma Lu, she just asked me not to be polite, but now she's separated from me again. That's not acceptable. Chi's cheerful tone eased the atmosphere. Actually, I have something else I want to trouble you with, Chi said with a hint of embarrassment. When we split up, my mother-in-law didn't give me any food. I haven't eaten it yet this morning. Ah, how can this work? You're still pregnant, cough cough, I'll get you some food to fill your stomach. As Lu Pezi said, she was about to get up and go to the kitchen. Wait a minute, don't worry. Chi was a bit moved. Grandma Lu is really a warm-hearted person. She grabbed Grandma Lu and said, I want to trouble Xiao Hua to bring me some rice, flour, oil, and salt when she goes to buy medicine. Human and worldly wisdom is such a wonderful existence, just a few back and forth, even though they were just separated, now they immediately become familiar and close. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 9-Egg Soup. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 9-Egg Soup. That's all for it, but Mrs. Lu didn't refuse anymore. She thought she would find another opportunity to repay her kindness from elsewhere in the future. I know now, don't worry, cough cough. I'll settle down here in the future. Mrs. Lu patted her hand. Thank you, Grandma Lu. The two looked at each other. Some words were not explicitly stated, but the meaning had already been fully conveyed. Okay, sit down, cough cough, I'll stew an egg cushion for you first. Although you have filial piety on your body, you shouldn't owe your child anything. There are some meat and fish that should be eaten, cough cough. Lu Pezi stood up and headed towards the kitchen. Xiao Hua quickly asked, Grandma, should I go to town? Lu Pezi paused for a moment and said, call your Daching uncle here. It's not good for you, a young woman, to go out with so much money and encounter bad people. Alright, I'll go find Uncle Daching now. As he spoke, he bounced out, afraid that sixth lady would turn back. This child, Lu Pezi muttered to Chi Nyang, Daching was the one who rented 5 acres of land from your family before. He's quite honest. Tell him what you want to buy. He has a fast pace and will definitely be able to come back before the sun sets. After thinking for a moment, she added, it's late tonight. Usually, there are ox carts waiting at the village head in the hour of evening. Each person receives a copper coin, and it takes an hour and a half to get to the town. Okay, I got it. Chi smiled gratefully. No matter which world, the vast majority of honest people want to rely on their own hands, strive to turn over, and get rid of poverty, which is really extremely difficult, unless pie falls from the sky. At the east end of the village, there was a group of incompetent and honest people gathered. Due to various reasons, they were living exceptionally difficult in this generally decent village. Yang Daching's family is one of them. Xiaohua quickly returned, bringing a middle-aged man and a young boy. The man had an average appearance, dark skin, and looked somewhat weathered. When he saw Qi, he stood 5 steps away with great restraint and stopped, Dong Jiao. Qi stood up and smiled, "Uncle, just call me Qi Nyang. Don't be nervous. I came to ask you to help me travel to the town and buy some things to come back. Of course, I will pay you for it." No pay, just talk about running errands. Whatever the boss wants, Yang Deqing had already heard about Qi on his way over. It was during the idle farming season, and in just a short while, the news of Qi's husband being kicked out by her husband's family had already spread widely in the village. As for the theory of separation, who knows, it's an excuse. There's no such thing as giving only a small amount of junk to the big house. And, to investigate the reason, another channel has also provided an answer. It turned out that it was because of filial piety that his wife ordered a hard restraining husband, and she hit the mark with evil spirits, which was personally approved by the Zen master of Qingyun Temple. Some people don't believe this and sneer at it, while most people still hold a more trustworthy attitude. After all, it concerns their own interests. Of course, it goes without saying who said this. Yang Deqing is an honest person, but he will not shy away from those things. Moreover, regarding the 5-acre land issue, he feels very sorry for this new owner, so he feels obligated to let him run errands. Faced with Yang Deqing's refusal, Qi smiled and did not argue. She only informed him one by one of the things she wanted to buy, and then gave him enough silver. Yang Deqing left with his son Dashan and Xiaohua. Qi finally had breakfast, a bowl of egg custard. Lu Pezi's craftsmanship is very good. She added a drop of sesame oil to the egg custard, making it even more delicious and fragrant. Qi was so delicious that she almost swallowed it on her tongue. Milk, what did I catch? It smells so delicious, what's there to eat? Tianwazi hurriedly ran back with a rattan basket in hand, and when she entered, she was captivated by the smell of sesame oil and eggs. Looking at the little boy staring straight at her bowl and swallowing his saliva, Qi couldn't put the last spoonful into his mouth. Seeing this, Lu Pezi waved his hand and gave the boy a brain teaser. "Where have you been again?" Tianwazi covered her forehead with a small hand and pouted unwillingly. "No, wild, I went fishing with Shurwa. Milk, you see, I touched several big fish. At noon, I had my sister burn them to help you recover." "Where did you go to touch it?" Cough. "I said, don't go play by the big river." Cough. "Why can't you remember what you said?" 6 Granny coughed even harder with excitement. Qi took advantage of Lu Pezi's lesson to Tianwazi and immediately ate the last bite of egg soup. Hey, it's not that she's reluctant to leave it for her child, it's just that it's her own leftover and not good for others. Seeing that Grandma Lu was coughing heavily, Qi put down the spoon and stepped forward to pat her back. "Grandma Lu, don't get excited, hurry up, take a deep breath." A special technique, from bottom to top, from the edge to the center, rhythmically tapping. Soon, Lu Pezi felt comfortable, and a mouthful of phlegm that couldn't come out of her old cough was also patted out. "Sister-in-law, how did you do it? Can you teach me?" Tianwazi's slightly dirty little face, a pair of agile big eyes full of curiosity. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lu Pezi, who was once again brainwashed, turned to Qi and said, "Children are not sensible. Don't worry about it. In ancient times, some crafts were highly valued and were meant to be passed down, so one could not easily teach others." Qi felt that it didn't matter. Modern doctors and nurses require patients' families to learn these techniques, helping patients alleviate pain and accelerate healing. This is a good thing. It's okay, Qi smiled. This back-patting technique is helpful for relieving coughing. I was supposed to teach Xiaohua to pat you tonight. Tianwazi wants to learn it. Let's learn it together when Xiaohua comes back. Seeing Lu Laozi hesitating, Chi said again, Grandma Lu, you have good luck. Your grandchildren are all so filial. Lu Pezi was momentarily stunned, and then sighed, yes, they are all good children. It's me who has dragged them down. At this moment, Chi realized that she had said the wrong thing. She intended to praise the filial piety of her two children, but didn't want to poke the pain of Lu Pezi. Just as she was about to apologize, Tianwazi loudly retorted, Milk, why are you talking nonsense? Milk is not our burden. Milk is the backbone of the family, the backbone is right. Tianwazi is the burden, eating more and doing less, and she can't even support herself. Sigh. Tianwazi let out a small adult-like sigh, instantly breaking the slightly solemn atmosphere. How old are you, silly kid? Cough, you still want to support yourself. Be obedient, don't add trouble to Milk, grow up quickly, and Milk will be happy. Six Granny's face showed a hopeful smile. Seeing Lu Laozi happy, Tianwazi also showed a cheerful smile and pointed to Ting Basket, Milk, look, the fish I touched is really big. Seeing that Lu Pezi was about to lose face, he immediately added, no, I didn't go to the big river. I and Shuewazi touched it in a small ditch. You are not allowed to go to Xiahigu either. Yes. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Rotten Property. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Rotten Property. The close and harmonious relationship between grandparents and grandchildren has made Chi, who grew up alone in a reorganized family and was not valued by her family since childhood, admire her. Chi placed one hand on her stomach and looked at the blue sky and white clouds. Suddenly, the child in her belly kicked her and she was pleasantly surprised to touch it, feeling an inexplicable excitement in her heart. This is her child. I don't know what it looks like when it's born, it must be a cute little dumpling. Although she doesn't have a father like her, it's okay. She will definitely strive to become a good mother, giving him all the love, double love, and not letting him suffer any of the hardships she experienced when she was a child. There is something in her stomach, and Chi can't sit idle anymore. She just took a brief look at the house, but hasn't looked at anything else yet. She needs to go and understand the situation. I talked to Grandma Lu and she didn't have anything else to do, so she followed along and also told her about the situation at the east end of the village. There is about 30 acres of land in the east end of the village, which is the lowest point in the village. Due to its proximity to a large river, it faces varying degrees of disasters caused by floods such as spring floods, summer floods, and ice floods every year. In the end, this area has become the most barren part of the entire village. There are still about 20 dilapidated houses here, and only 6 of them are truly inhabited. The Lu Pezi family is the tallest among all the families in terms of terrain. After going out, the first thing I saw was the only mountain in the east of the village, 800 meters away. When I first arrived, I didn't pay attention. It wasn't until Lu Pezi mentioned it that I found out that it was the mountain assigned to her by the Gu family. Actually, it doesn't count as a mountain, it's just that the other terrain in Dongsuan Head is too low, which makes this stone pile appear higher. That's right, it's a pile of stones, and the vegetation on top is extremely sparse. It's early spring in February now, and the other hills are already green, but her family's hill is still bare. I don't know what the ancestors of the Gu family thought, how could they actually buy this useless mountain? However, can we build a new house on the empty land at the foot of the mountain? Chi thought she would go to the village chief's house tomorrow. I have seen the old house before, and the bamboo forest behind the house is dense. It seems that I don't have to worry about eating the bamboo shoots in spring. The small pool in front of the house, why are the leaves floating on the water so familiar to the eye? Lotus leaves. It's not like it, like a grinding disc that is very huge, and the back seems to have sharp spikes. Grandma Lu, what is that? Chi felt very familiar with it, but couldn't remember it for a moment, so she asked Grandma Lu. Lu Pazi glanced and shook her head. I don't know when it suddenly happened. There used to be children coming here to fish, but since they got here, the children haven't come either. Chi looked at the entire large leaf covered in the pond, feeling more and more familiar as she looked at it. So she secretly asked the system, Xiao Detzi, do you know what that is? There are 10 complete plant encyclopedias with 300 merit points, the system said coldly. You can't afford it. Chi's black line said, just tell me what that is, why bother spending money on a complete set of books? There's no free lunch in the world, you're overthinking it, the system snorted coldly. Zayadizi, don't be so stingy. The two of us are now two grasshoppers on the same rope. No, you can't open the back door. If caught by the inspectors, you will be punished by deducting your merit value. The merit system mercilessly advises, don't think of taking shortcuts. Only the merit value earned by doing good deeds through your own efforts is valuable. Alright, I don't know how to adapt. Luo Li's chatter is old-fashioned, Chi murmured, quickly interrupting his chatter. If you can't remember, forget it for now. There will always be times when you can know. Isn't it just 300 merit points? It's a small joke. Putting aside this paragraph, Chi followed Lu Pazi to a field near the river. The more you walk towards the river, the heavier your heart becomes. The fields in Linjiang are almost completely abandoned, with mud and sand covering the soil, and the soil quality is extremely poor. How could such fields have a bountiful harvest? In less than a month, spring plowing will be needed. Hey, if the Daching family no longer rents this land this year and you have a big belly, what should we do? Lu Pazi sighed, this used to be a fertile field, but unfortunately, it was ruined because it was too close to the river. Chi looked into the distance, the water level of the big river was only 100 meters away from this field. At a glance, he saw a cliff and residual wall on the opposite bank, and the water on the river was fast and turbulent. Chi frowned and said, the eastern end of this village is going to become a riverbank. Without a dam, it's too unsafe. When will there be a major flood that will flood the entire eastern end of the village? Well, I've really been flooded before. As the older generation mentioned, about 50 years ago, a major flood occurred in the Dajiang River, flooding the entire eastern end of the village and even affecting the village. Lu Pazi looked at the river and sighed, I heard that many people died in the eastern end of the village that time. Since then, some capable families in the village have moved to the western part of the village. It's really good there, with high terrain and fertile fields. As for the embankment you mentioned, the villagers go to work every year, but unfortunately, it's a pity to repair the river embankment and open a new river. Let's not think about it here. It's impossible to build a riverbank here, after all, the terrain here is also slightly lower than ours. Chi nodded in agreement and looked around, knowing it was impossible. This is a U-shaped depression at the east end of the village, and the opening is the big river. But we have to find some ways, unless she doesn't live here, otherwise it's too unsafe. Hey, her property now seems to be a pile of junk and worthless, no wonder I can share it with her. Also, these 5 acres of land cannot be left uncultivated, because the court has regulations that good farmland must be cultivated and cannot be abandoned without reason. If it is found, it will be punished. This was an edict issued during the early establishment of the new dynasty, when all the waste was waiting to be restored, and has been used until today. Chi returned to Lu Pazi's house with a tired body, immediately sat down and rested. After walking around with a big belly, she was tired. It seems that this body is very weak and needs to be exercised well. Otherwise, when she has a child, she will have no strength and suffer. Chi secretly decided to walk around the east end of the village every morning and evening, familiarizing herself with the environment and exercising her body. At noon, Lu Pazi cooked a pot of fish soup with the fish brought back by Tianwazi, and Chi didn't hesitate and had a delicious meal. This fish is really good. It looks like river fish, with delicate and delicious meat. The only difference is that there are fewer seasonings at home and the fishy smell is stronger. However, for families who cannot eat meat for years, this is already delicious. I took a nap in the afternoon, maybe I was too tired, but I actually slept until the sun set. She didn't wake up until she heard the excited voice of the little flower in the courtyard. Hurry up and push the door open to go out. Sure enough, I saw a lot of things placed in the courtyard, all of which were bought by her. End of this chapter.